get closer to God. So this woman, Mary McNamara, writes about HBO's shameless parade of topless women, and she writes, although there is male nudity, there are no male brothels, no scenes of clothed women, or men for that matter, sitting around chatting in a room filled with naked men. So the brothel scenes are there ostensibly to make a point about men in power. Look, there are no male brothels to service women, or they're totally insignificant. I know, because I used to place like escorting ads in Los Angeles Magazine that I'd like offer to escort women around.
Yeah,
like, and I was hot stuff, but I got no response. There's like very minuscule market for women to make use of male whores. So that's the way, you know, we're driven. Like, men like to have sex with beautiful anonymous women they just meet, and women don't tend to fantasize about sex with strangers. So that's why there are no male brothels in these series. Okay, so the brothels in these shows, not there to make a point about men in power, they're there to titillate. Men who don't have power like patronizing hookers every bit as much as men who do have power. Straight men don't particularly like to look at naked men. Straight women don't particularly care to look at naked men either, if you measure that desire by money spent to satisfy the urge. So why are there no male brothels? Because women don't tend to patronize male hookers. There's very little market demand for this. Women are not into sex with strangers. Men are into sex with strangers if the strangers are hot. Straight men like sex with attractive women, even if they don't know these women. Homosexual men like sex with attractive men, even if they don't know these men. So Mary McNamara writes in the LA Times, but as important in theme and character development as it may be to point out that some men enjoy paying for sex and treating women as sexual furniture, HBO has played this card so often that the obligatory scattering of reclining females with their blouses open or absent now elicits laughter more than shock or titillation. Well, you're not the audience, Mary McNamara. Straight men have an inexhaustible appetite for looking at attractive naked women unless said men are particularly moral or just scared of them. You can't have too much of a good thing. It's like the basic male attitude. It's not that some men enjoy paying for sex and treating women as sexual furniture. All men enjoy treating women as sexual furniture, except for men who are particularly moral or men who are particularly fragile and scared. So those men that don't act on these urges are either moral or scared or unable. So Mary McNamara writes, prostitutes.
Hey, you gotta wrap this up. It's getting long.
I got 10 minutes.
It's getting long. It's getting all right. Keep going.
Prostitutes and brothels are obviously and regrettably simply vehicles to work the R rating. Okay, it's gratuitous, ridiculous, it's lazy and sexist. Of course, women's bodies can function as props in art and entertainment. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. Men have been painting naked women since the beginning of time. So when Mary McNamara dismisses this as sexism, she's pulling political correctness, aka left-wing dismissal of painful reality. That's what Dennis Prager says. Political correctness means I dismiss reality if that reality is painful. So female prostitution has been a part of the atmosphere of art for thousands of years. By contrast, there's never been much of a market for women to purchase sexual services of male strangers. So that's my point. And
what does D. Medic say?
You really want to know?
Yeah, because this is what I think he was commenting on that led to his question.
Okay, D. Medic says, even when you get hot women, you get tired of them. The glory of their image is usually greater than themselves. So when you hear some of them speak, you kind of want to shut them up and go back to just looking pretty. They're not much different from hard drugs. You're always chasing the high of that Hollywood fantasy. I look back at pictures of some girls I knew in high school. They're starting to age. I can see the gradual fear in their eyes of becoming second-rate. Even goodwill-worthy merchandise. Inevitably, men who are bought over by the Barbie doll fantasy toss them aside when they grow old, shriveled, and dry. Painful for them, but not much different than a man who wakes up one day, can't get it up. His sense of value diminishes rapidly, unless he goes to see a doctor and gets a prescription for Levitra.
Right, and then tying it back up to what he asked me in the question, it could be that the reason why they shrivel up, right, and they're not attracted is because that is indicative of something deeper that's missing in the relationship, and that this lack of sexual interest is really only a manifestation on the physicality side of what's really going on inside, deeper in the relationship itself and the problems there. What's going on in the chat room?
Nothing's going on in the chat room. So do you have any thoughts on my learned discussion of breasts?
Well, I don't have a lot of respect for HBO, so I don't mind pot shots taken at it.
Why? What do you have against HBO?
We got 8 minutes. I have a personal vendetta against them.
Oh, because they wouldn't give you a show?
They didn't give me a show. And because of that, there's a lot of things all built up around that, but did I tell you the story what happened? Did I ever talk about it?
I'm not sure.
Okay, can I do it? Okay, I got a phone call one day by, I guess you call it a talent scout, I don't know. It's somebody who's working for HBO and they're a talent scout. And I'm just going to say that they were not Jewish, they were Catholic. And we all know that Catholics love Rabbi Raps. And they had heard of me, and she said like she was really interested in seeing what I had to offer. Right? She thought, this is unique.
Did she ask you to drop trowel?
No, this was on the phone.
Okay.
And she said, I'm with HBO, and we've heard some good things about you. You're this rabbi comic, and you're really funny, and there's a lot of buzz about you here in Los Angeles because you're playing all the major clubs, and we just wanted to contact you and please send us one of your demo tapes, demo videotape, and so we can see for ourselves what's going on. And I sent them a tape, and then I got a call back, and they said, oh my God. This was the funniest thing. We were all here in the office watching this tape together on our videotape machine, and we're just laughing our asses off. And oh my God, things are very positive for you. There's a lot of buzz about you now in the offices of HBO. We are actually considering giving you your own comedy special with us. And they did an hour-long. I don't know if they do those anymore, do they? Where they say so and so gets an hour show, and they pay you $100,000. Which was the rate at the time. For 1 hour show, you just go on stage for an hour in a big club, and they tape you, it's $100,000. I was like, oh my God, and this is big, because when people notice that one, then it takes off and you've got a whole career, right? You do an hour special, and they might, if that goes well, they might give you your own show. That's basically what happens with a lot of these guys, right? And I'm thinking, oh my God, the doors are opening for me, right? This was in November of 2001. This was 10 years ago. And they said, now the next step is we need to come and see you perform in person. And I was like, great, I'm playing at the Comedy Store in Hollywood. This is the date. Why don't you guys all show up? And it was a date in November of 2001. And I went up, and the people from HBO were there. They were sitting in the audience. They came to see me, right? And this was my moment. It's I can really do a fuck up and then it's all over with. No, I had one of the biggest nights, Eddie. I'm telling you the truth. I am telling you the truth. I blew the room away that night. I pulled down the house. People were laughing their asses off. I was like, oh my God, thank you, God. And I blew the room away, and everybody was laughing their asses off. And I was like, oh my God. And the next morning, I got a phone call, and the woman said, oh, everything looks really good. We enjoyed it last night. You're hilarious. We think this is really going to go. We're going to take it to the next level. We're going to take it to some board, whatever, and we're going to make a pitch now to have you get your own comedy special. And I'm like, oh my fucking God, right? About the next day or the day after, I got a phone call, and they got, we got really bad news for you. They didn't like it. They don't want to have anything to do with it. We said to them, but wait a minute, we just went to see this guy at the Comedy Store, and he was hilarious. He pulled the room down. We watched the video. Then we pitched you as much as we could, and they just said no. And I was like, why the fuck is their problem? And then it occurred to me later what the problem was. As I got more and more involved in the business, those people sitting there were Jews. They were secular, self-hating Jews sitting at the top. Because who's in charge of HBO? It's Jews. The guy Saperstein, I think, right? And he hired a bunch of these self-hating Jews at the top of HBO, and they heard rabbi comic, someone dressed like me, funny, and not in a way that they could make fun of me, but in a way that I was real. And they said, nothing doing, we can't have this, because they're embarrassed by it. So what do they have instead? They have Curb Your Enthusiasm, because there you got a self-hating Jew, Larry, what's his name? Larry Douche, what's the guy's name?
I don't remember.
Yeah, Larry David. And he sits there and he makes fun of and puts Frummies in a bad light and trashes Judaism. And those who follow it are made to look like fools. that they're